So in our school, we didn't get a lot of choices for GCSE. They kind of made you do a lot of things. Things like triple science, you had to do your English language literature, you had to do a language, you had to do maths, of course. I elected to do like an additional math module. I did economics and business, which I was terrible at. And I did music, which was just because everything else had been checked and nothing else was interesting, so I did music. But yeah, even at that point, it was quite clear that physics and chemistry were my best, science subjects. I don't want to say that physics was something that I was put on this planet to do. It was something that, like a lot of things I found, you kind of just stumble into. Like, it was something that I enjoyed and I was good at, but the idea of it being like, I can only do this one thing, I don't quite buy that. And making a decision about things, what to do for A-level, it can be kind of tricky. It's like, oh, is this something that I really want to do? It's like, do you enjoy it? Are you good at it? Are you willing to work at it? And I think the latter is the most important thing. And so that's really what I based my decision on. And things like keeping options open, choosing something that's going to give you that afterwards and not funnel you in too quickly, I think is always a good idea. So at A-level, I did physics, chemistry, maths, English literature for AS, back when there was an AS, and I did the extended project qualification as well. So it was really around my A-levels where I sort of really started hitting my stride in terms of my academic stuff, really putting in more effort, focusing up, particularly when we started doing things that were not just your basic mechanics sort of things or learning about electricity. Electricity and magnetism will never be my thing, but when we did modules on particle physics, nuclear physics, we even did a bit on special relativity back then. I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. And I also fought tooth and nail to get the teacher that I wanted to have because some teachers were better than others. And yeah, I felt a bit entitled because I wanted to do physics at university. So I can't pinpoint exactly where I made that choice, but I mean, I think pretty soon after my GCSEs during the summer, you start thinking about what you want to do. Yeah, I knew pretty soon that I wanted to do physics because, again, it was something that would give me options further on, but it was what was most interesting to me and what I felt most comfortable doing. So A-level exams, like the prep for that, we were obviously working quite hard and it was quite stressful. I remember one of my maths exams, I think my C3 exam on the EdXL board, I remember being quite difficult and going back home and being really upset because I sort of done the mental maths on it and I was like, oh wait, there is no way I'm gonna get the grade that I wanted. I did get the grade that I wanted in the end, which kind of just goes to show how warped your perception is when you're in the thick of it. But yeah, that was really that trial by fire a little bit. Like, okay, if you want to get the higher grades, you gotta really push yourself. And I know, and then I could at least see from my GCSEs going to my A-levels the sort of difference that process had. Like, I was much more focused, much more diligent in doing that. So I mean, it was tough, but it was worth it. I got what I needed out of it in the end. My university choices were partially informed by my parents wanting me to stay at home during my undergraduate studies, purely from a financial perspective, which at the time I didn't quite understand, but looking back I do. And so I applied to all the London universities, UCL of course, King's, Imperial, and then I also applied to some outside of London just because I needed a few more options. So I applied to Birmingham and I applied to Durham. I went to University College London. It was my first choice because one, it was in London, and my parents wanted me to stay in London so I could stay at home to save a lot of money, which was good. And yeah, going to the open day, it just felt like UCL was a bit more of a diverse community. It wasn't solely science focused and had culture, had things happening that made it feel vibrant and alive. I studied physics, just straight up. I did the integrated masters, so you don't graduate after your third year. After your bachelor's, you just kind of stay on for another year. That's the same length, so not a full MSc year, but then you graduate with an MSci, Master in Science.